I can't even use PayPal. I can't use Stripe. I can't use a bank account. I can't qualify for credit cards. I can't qualify for a merchant account. I can't qualify to lease a house. I can't qualify to lease a car. What on earth is happening? All because I didn't file my taxes. What's up, record breakers? My name is Chris Record. Another day, another vlog. I am here in my house in Paradise Valley, and today I'm gonna get brutally honest and we're gonna dive into my #1 biggest business mistake. But first, let's roll this epic house montage. Oh my God. All right, you guys, I'm just gonna come clean. I'm just gonna get very, very real. And this is very difficult for me to share because the #1 biggest business failure that I've made in my career was not paying my taxes. And I'm not just talking about not paying a small amount of taxes, but I didn't pay hundreds of thousands of dollars that I owe to the IRS, and it caught up to me and has literally been the biggest obstacle that I've faced in my entrepreneurial career. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna take you back to the beginning when I first wasn't paying taxes, and then I'm gonna explain to you what I did wrong and what every single entrepreneur should avoid, and then I'm gonna share with you what I did right, how I was able to fix and resolve the situation. And I'm gonna be honest and very transparent. It's 2017. You know, we live in a time where you can share, at least hopefully, you can share from your heart, and my tax situation is still not fully resolved. Despite having made millions of dollars, what happens is the more money that I made, I still owed taxes, and then I still had to cover back taxes, but I was investing in new businesses. Things were very, very difficult. Not only that, but I also went through a divorce, some other things that stretched out that tax process. And I'm not here to make excuses or justifications, but I am here to say that if this video can save even one person the massive amount of pain that this has caused me in my career, then it's worth it. So with that being said, let's get started.
Let's get the party started.
Let's get the party started. Not the way I taught you.
Where do I even begin? Okay, let's take you back to like 2004, 2005, those years there. I was an entrepreneur and I was struggling in the early 2000s, but right around 2004, I started making money. I think that I had cleared over $100,000 in gross income. Now, before we get any further, you gotta understand what the difference is between gross income and your actual take-home net profit, okay? Gross income is like the total amount of money that you pulled in. But when you're your own business owner, when you're an entrepreneur, then you have expenses such as advertising or business cards or even gas going to appointments, whatever it is. When you're an employee, your boss covers those expenses. But when you're your own boss, you have to cover those expenses. So those expenses are write-offs. So for example, just on a very beginner basis, if I make $100,000, but I have to spend $50,000 in advertising, then when it's all said and done, I did $100,000 gross income, but $50,000 net income after expenses. Okay, so there's gross and there's net. And we're just gonna keep it very basic. This is not gonna be like an accounting video. This is not gonna be anything like that because first of all, I'm not an accountant, right? I'm just an entrepreneur who struggled and failed and finally figured it out. So I made around $100,000 back in 2014, 2015, around those years I was making a 6-figure income, and I hadn't made money in so long that what I essentially did was I spent the money. So I made $100,000 and I spent $100,000, but I wasn't good at that time at record keeping. So I had no idea whether I spent it on a business expense or a personal expense. Now in my mind, I felt as though all of it was business expenses. But you know, mixed inside there were also things like, you know, dinners with friends or maybe some personal items, and I didn't know how to write those off. Plus, I was spending a lot of cash. What I would do is I would go to the bank and I'd pull out like $1,000 cash. I loved having cash on me, and I would buy dinners and I would do things, and then, you know, I would get the receipt, but I wouldn't really keep it. I wouldn't keep it organized. I have no idea where those receipts went. So what happened during those years was that I made the money, I spent all of it, and I had nothing left. And then when it came time to pay my taxes, I didn't really have the information to file properly. I didn't really have good record keeping. I didn't have good bookkeeping. I just didn't pay taxes. But not only did I not pay taxes, I didn't even file those years. What I figured in my mind, my logic back then was next year I'm gonna make so much money at this pace that I'm gonna hire some big accounting firm. I'm gonna solve these entire problems. So if anybody's listening right now, if you have had any kind of tax burdens, any kind of tax issues, if your theory is you're just gonna make more money later and then you're gonna pay some accountants to fix it for you, the reality is that that might not come. Or you might make more money, but it's based on bad habits. So you're literally just gonna repeat the same habits. But watch what happened here, because this cycle became very, very vicious and very bad for me. So what happened was I started making money and not filing my taxes and not paying any taxes. Now, it didn't catch up to me, right? Nothing. I didn't file taxes for a couple years, whatever. I went under the radar. Nobody was pushing on it. I didn't receive any letters, nothing like that. 2006, 2007, my income spiked up. Okay, I went from making $100,000 a year to like $500,000 in commissions and started killing it. Now, I'm flush with all these commissions, but here's what happens. When I'm starting to make that money, I get a notice from the IRS that I didn't pay my taxes and they were gonna assess a tax penalty on me. So here I am finally making good money and the IRS is saying, hey, hold on. You gotta pay taxes, bro. So what I did was I went and got an accountant. Now this accountant was older, he was in like his 70s, but he was pretty good and he was working for some of my friends. But here's the crazy part, you guys, and you can't even like make this stuff up. I get all of my receipts in these big boxes and I go take them over to this accountant and I say, okay, go through all this stuff. Let's just figure it out. Here's $1,000. Let's try to make something happen. This accountant in his 70s dies. Okay, my accountant dies. All of my stuff is with him, but he had taken all of his accounting and all of his books and stuff like that, all of his receipts, somewhere with him when he was like on vacation, and then he died. So I was following up like with the family, I was trying to follow up, I was trying to figure out how to get all those boxes back. You know, it was sad enough that he died, but he died and somehow all of my receipts and all of my stuff was just lost in the mix. And I, at the time, number one, didn't really know how to go about getting it back. And number two, I was so busy with my business that I just kept procrastinating. At first, I followed up a couple times, then I just stopped following up. And you know, that part is on me. So literally, all that paperwork, all those accounting, everything is just lost. And it's been lost for years. So what I did then was I was all shook up and I didn't file again. Now, this is where it got out of hand. Over the course of like 4 or 5 years, I had generated $1 million in income, which is a huge amount. That's a good problem to have, right? I generated $1 million in income, but I hadn't filed any money on that income and I hadn't paid any taxes on that income. So what happened was the IRS essentially saw that income was paid to me, saw that I didn't file, so they like automatically filed for me. What they did was they just basically assessed my situation, automatically filed. But they don't know what my business expenses are, so they automatically filed a huge amount. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was like whatever it was on like $1 million of commissions and earnings. Maybe I spent 90% of that on business expenses, but they didn't know that. They ended up assessing me like $500,000 in taxes, okay? Crazy, some hundreds of thousands of dollars because there was fees and stuff in there. So here I am in my late 20s and I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax debt. And here's the thing, the company that I was killing it with, that I was making all this money, went out of business. So I now have no income coming in. I had had some good years, but the truth is I spent that money. And also the truth is I didn't have any good record keeping or bookkeeping. So the IRS, what they did was they dipped into my bank accounts and pulled out all the money that I had. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was a few $1,000s, so it's still pretty big. They reached in and they pulled it out and they levied my bank account. So here I was, I had just made like $1 million, but that sounds like a lot. But there was a few years where I wasn't making any money at all. And then there was like a nice 4 to 5 years that I had basically made $1 million. So spread that out over like 10 years, you know, it's like $100,000 per year. Still good income, but you gotta understand, like when I started making money, it was like paying back debt that I had got in those first several years, paying back some friends, and it was also like I was new money, so clearly I was spending it. I had a 6-figure car, I was living in like a 6,000 square foot house, some stuff like that. I was not being the best with my money, but a lot of it went to business expenses, almost all of it, and I didn't keep track. Now, before I go any further, let me tell you, no matter what you're doing right now, no matter what your tax situation is, maybe you're not making money, but one day you might have a tax situation, or maybe right now you can relate, you have one. The number one most important thing to do is stop and fix it immediately. You're not gonna fix it like overnight. I wasn't gonna write a check for $500,000 to the IRS, but stop and immediately fix it, because if you don't set up something, if you don't get some proper bookkeeping going, proper accounting, proper receipts, if you wanna be a business person, you have to act like a business person. You can't act like a commission-based salesman that I don't know about taxes. You can't do that. I tried it and it didn't work. Here's what happened, you guys. Let me go a little bit further. So now that the IRS has liened my bank accounts, I'm no longer using the bank, okay? What's happening is I'm getting paid on a company pay card. I'm going to the ATM and I'm pulling out the money immediately. So before it ever hits my bank account, I'm literally going in and I figured out ways to be able to get paid, cash the checks, and always have cash on me. So here I am those next few years making over $100,000 a year without bank accounts, without credit cards, without using my credit. I couldn't use my social security number for anything because it had liens on it. So if I wanted to go like lease a house, or if I wanted to go try to rent a car, or not rent a car, I guess I could do that, but like lease a car or finance something, anytime that they needed to run my social security number, I would always get rejected and declined. And the reason is because they would run my credit report and see I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax liens that were unpaid. And the reason this isn't good is because they know that even if I have money to pay that bill, that the IRS can come in and take the money, so I'm unsafe to loan money to. So I could never like finance a car. It was difficult for me to move into a house and even try to lease or rent an apartment or anything like that. My life became difficult. Now, the good news is I became creative. I started becoming a creative entrepreneur. I started finding ways to do things without needing credit. So yes, that skill was valuable, but what I rather would have had was not, when it was no tax debt and no bad credit report and no tax liens and no IRS dipping into my bank account. So listen, let's fast forward now. I finally get my life back together. I have kids, you know, I get married, I have kids. I'm now living in a house. We figured out a way to be able to rent it despite the bad credit. I figured out a way to live in this like all cash basis and bad credit for several years. And I figure once I get back on track, then I'll pay back the IRS. Now, the biggest mistake I made was not setting up a payment plan and getting straight with them, because here's what happened. The moment I got back on track, I think the year was like 2014, I had launched a course called Dark Post Profits. The course started doing very, very well. Now, here's something I've never told anybody. I'm telling you guys for the first time. But when I launched that course, the IRS dipped into the PayPal account and took $90,000 out of the account overnight. It was gone. It was the craziest experience, you guys. $90,000 that I had in the bank account, and that was set aside for business expenses, right? It was in PayPal, and we were using that for like the marketing, the advertising, everything, and it just one day, poof, it was gone. I like was refreshing the screen, like what on earth happened? Where did all the money go? And I called the IRS and I'm like, no, you gotta put some money back in there. That's like to run the business. And they said, sorry. And it's crazy. It's like that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, where like his last money gets tugged out of his account. All my money was gone overnight, right in the middle of a very good product launch, and it scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what to do. So I called up the IRS and I'm like, you guys, this is crazy. And they're like, listen, you owe us the money, so we had to take it. So the bottom line is, it caught up to me. So at that point, I realized, I can't even use PayPal. I can't use Stripe. I can't use a bank account. I can't qualify for credit cards. I can't qualify for a merchant account. I can't qualify to lease a house. I can't qualify to lease a car. What on earth is happening? All because I didn't file my taxes. You know what I wish I would have done? I wish I would have filed my taxes, even if I couldn't claim all the write-offs, if I would have filed and then set up a payment plan with the IRS. Had I just done that, I would have been in good standing with the IRS. I wouldn't have racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional fees, and I wouldn't have had to live in fear of a cash-only basis without using a bank account. And I would have been able to have good credit. I wouldn't have had to worry about all this. You guys, it's crazy, but I never did it. And I don't know if anybody here is watching this video, but as entrepreneurs, I'll bet there's a lot of people out there that also have had tax problems. I'll bet there's a lot of people out there that just don't understand. You make money, and you don't realize exactly how to set aside some of that money for taxes to be able to get straight. This is a big lesson for me, you guys. This is crazy. Let's fast forward to even starting up Techademics. When I started up Techademics, here's a multi-million-dollar company that we're building, and I'm struggling to even be able to qualify for a merchant account. I'm struggling to even be able to qualify to get a house. Everything was a struggle. So here I am, financially successful. I'm able to make money. I'm able to sell. I'm able to create revenue. I'm able to put it all back in the business, but my credit is horrible and is still being repaired. And the situation with the IRS was even worse because now there's just letters coming all the time and having to go to court. And now working out a payment plan, it's no longer a good strategy. You guys, it messed up my entire career. Jeez. Listen, guys, not paying my taxes was the biggest business mistake I have made in my life. Literally, like, not just not paying my taxes, but not filing, not even setting up a payment plan. You guys, listen, if I can give you any advice right now, if you currently have any unpaid taxes as an entrepreneur, get on the phone with the IRS and work something out. They want you to do that. Call them right now. Call them tomorrow. Don't get all your ducks in a row. Just call them, literally call them and say, you know what? I need to get this worked out. I want to make sure I'm in good standing with you. Can we work out a payment plan? Can we do something? You guys just do it, right? Do it immediately, or go talk with an accountant and do it immediately. The number one most important thing you can do is be in communication with the IRS. When the IRS came in and swooped $90,000 out of my account, that literally shut me down. I didn't launch another course for like a year. A lot of people said, man, your course was so successful. Why did you wait another year to launch one? It was because I was going through all of these struggles, you guys. People just didn't see it. So if there's any motivation or inspiration or encouragement I can give you, if you're a brand new entrepreneur, understand that tax problems is one of the biggest things that you can face. Make sure that you are keeping good records of all of your expenses. What I do now is every single time I spend money, I get a receipt, and then I have a box here at my house. At the end of the day, I take all of my receipts and I empty them in the box. But before I do, when I get a receipt, I'll usually write with it. When I sign it, I'll get my copy and I'll write on the top what the business expense was and who I was with, okay? So I make sure to get good record keeping now. It just takes an extra few seconds. Now I keep a box, I got all my records together, and then you can have an accountant go through and organize it, or a bookkeeper, or if you're analytical and you're kind of OCD yourself, you can do it. Organize all your receipts into categories, hand them over to your accountant, and make sure that that happens. Every single dollar that you spend needs to be tracked. Because here's what happens. You might make $100,000, but $80,000 of it might be allowable business deductions. So 100,000 minus 80,000 is 20,000. Now you're only paying taxes on $20,000, right? So you earn, spend, tax. That's so much better than having the IRS assess taxes on you. So you just earn and pay taxes. You're gonna pay so much money if you don't do it this way. And a lot of times you might think, oh, I'll just deal with it later because I'll be making more money. No, trust me, I've been in that situation. I told myself that for years. And I don't know if this is inspiring anybody. I don't know if you don't even care about this video. All I'm saying is that this was very, very real for me. And if it even affects one single person, then this vlog, this video was worth making happen today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed making this, and if you guys want me to make more videos like this or share more personal stories, all I want you to do is let me know in the comments below. Give this video a like, give this video a comment, and then share this video so other people can hear this message and understand how important it is to pay your taxes. So before you guys go, do me a favor, smash the subscribe button, smash the post notification bell, become a record breaker. Every single day here, we're blending entertainment and education together. We call it entertainment. We do it every single day, 365 days a year, plus every single week, I make a music video, plus sometimes I get crazy and go jump on my bed. The bottom line is we have fun here. So if you guys want to be a record breaker, just smash that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's vlog. Peace. Ever since I was 14 years old, OG's looking at me, I'm a kid from the